Welcome to Chamber Chat. This is John Tayer, President and CEO of the Boulder Chamber, and this is our bi-weekly opportunity to reach out to our Boulder Chamber members and our business community to have a chat with them about some of the activities at the Boulder Chamber that are designed to support your business and help you to thrive, but also to talk with some of our local leaders about some of the work they're doing in our community, particularly during a challenging time for our businesses as we address the COVID crisis. And today we're very honored to have representative from Elevations Credit Union, the CEO, Gerry, Agnes, as well as Brian Lewandowski from the Leeds School of Business. So we'll get to have a chat with them in just a second, but first, let me just give you a few little snippets about some of the activities happening here at the Boulder Chamber. So first, if you're an entrepreneur, make sure you're paying attention because tonight is the deadline, Friday, October 2nd, to get your entrepreneurial venture submitted for the Esprit Venture Challenge competition. For those who don't know, Esprit Venture Challenge is our startup competition with a local community twist where everybody gets a chance to vote online for their favorite entrepreneurial venture, as well as an in-person voting on the finalists. And all of this is for a $10,000 award for the winning Esprit Venture Challenge competitor. This is all about driving innovation in our community by supporting our ventures and new startup businesses and giving them exposure, but then also the lucky winner will get $10,000 to support their startup venture. So make sure, if you're an entrepreneur, to get your venture in for this contest and get the information online here on your screen, okay? Second, we have our next meeting of the Business Women's Leadership Group, which is Wednesday, October 21st. And the topic is Divisive to Inclusive, Navigating Contentious Conversations. This will be your opportunity to explore ways to navigate those really difficult conversations. And as I said, get them from divisive to inclusive. This will be a presentation by business and leadership coach Daniel Wexler, who will walk us through the ways you can maintain respectability and authenticity in polarizing situations. So make sure to register. You won't want to miss that. And then finally, but not least, we've reimagined our annual economic summit, and it's going to be a 3-day virtual symposium with 6 months of impact for you. So what do we mean by that? From the comfort of your couch, we will be presenting the economic summit, and that will be October 13th, 14th, and 15th. So what will you get? You will get access to 12 sessions over those 3 days, all designed to help you develop key business resiliency skills, to discuss emergent community issues, and to brainstorm solutions that are going to help us address our community's most challenging issues. So make sure that you are participating, because this is a great opportunity to be engaged in our community's economic recovery efforts. You can get access to all of this content over then the next 6 months. So you'll want to use it as a resource for yourself and for your business colleagues. So who should attend? Well, they're all folks who are business leaders in our community who are interested in convening across industry sectors in the spirit of innovation. We'll be discussing creative problem-solving solutions, as well as an opportunity to reimagine our economy as we evolve out of this economic recovery. So some of the highlight panels and topics for this economic summit. First, measuring the impact of COVID-19 on Boulder's economy with Rich Wobekind and Brian Lewandowski from the University of Colorado. We will have a keynote panel called Boulder's Position to Lead, Innovation in the post-COVID economy. Won't want to miss that. And then we're going to have a closing plenary, Thriving in Chaos, with Corinne Hancock. Of course, we're all dealing with chaos. We can all benefit from a session like that. So make sure to attend as many sessions you want. You can attend one, you can attend them all, and they'll all be available for you for 6 months online as a registrant for the Economic Summit. So make sure to join us, which then is a great transition for me to have a conversation with our two special guests today. And they are both representing our two presenting sponsors for the Economic Summit, Elevations Credit Union and the University of Colorado. Our first guest is Gerry Agnes, who is the president and CEO of Elevations Credit Union. And I can tell you that organization is driving great financial services for our community. And we know that because they are the only national credit union to be recognized with the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award by the Department of Commerce, which is a stamp of excellence in operations. So that's a huge credit to Gerry Agnes and his leadership of that organization. And then we also have Brian Lewandowski, who is the executive director of the Business Research Division at the Leeds School of Business. He is, along with his partner in that organization, Rich Wobekind, our go-to folks to help us understand the data that tells us about the health of our economy and helps us understand the direction for where we're going in our community and the levers we can pull to make sure that we strengthen our economy for the future. And I'm going to start with Brian, and I'm just going to ask him, wondering what are the indicators telling us about the current condition of our economy? And, you know, during this COVID crisis, are you getting a sense of where things are heading?
Thanks, John, for having me here today. When we're tracking the economy, there's a few things we're looking at nationally that really stick out to me. One, we think that the worst is behind us. We don't think we're going to have another quarter where we have 32% drop in GDP or another period where we see another 22 million jobs lost. And so we feel like we are on the road to recovery, but we also think that there's going to be some speed bumps along the way. Some of the things that we've noted is just how different this recession is than past recessions. This is one of the most unequal recessions that we've ever seen. We're seeing our lowest wage industries and our lowest wage individuals be disproportionately impacted. We've seen a record increase in per income, while we've seen a record decrease in employee earnings and a record increase in federal government payments to households. We've seen our tourism industry just get hammered, take a disproportionate hit during this recession, and we've seen healthcare take a disproportionate hit. So there's a lot of things that are so different in this cycle than what we've seen in prior cycles, and that's something that we're really going to delve in during the Economic Summit with all of your members.
Wow.
As we zoom into Colorado, we see that the state is continuing to outperform the nation. They are still in recession here, but we have less employment loss than what the nation has seen. We have a better unemployment rate than what the nation is experiencing. And as we zoom into Boulder, that's also true. For Boulder is outperforming the nation in terms of job losses, in terms of the unemployment rate. And as we think about Boulder, as we look forward, we still think Boulder is positioned well for a recovery.
Very interesting, Brian. Yeah, it's like I sense, sort of as you said, it's uneven with indicators positive and also significant concerns. Well, Gerry, just thinking about your position at the credit union, you're in touch with a wide swath of our local businesses. So just wondering if you can give your sense of the current economic conditions from your perspective, looking at Main Street.
Be a Zoom meeting if I didn't unmute myself. But thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. looking at the local economy as I think Brian said, there are different sectors that are hurting, and we're seeing that here as well. And I'll speak to both business and the consumer. From a business standpoint, certainly tourism and hospitality are just getting hammered. But fortunately, Boulder has a very diverse economy. When you look at the university and government, in the private sector, biotech, technology, healthcare, aerospace, a very diverse economy, natural foods, able to withstand a lot of that. So as we went into this recession, which I agree with Brian is very different. This is my 5th recession I've worked in the financial services sector, and there's been nothing like this in the past. And it is very different in that some people are actually thriving quite well in this economy, while others are having a devastating economic environment. And so that unevenness is really taking its toll. So when we look at the businesses along Main Street, or Pearl Street, if you will, in Boulder, certainly the hospitality, the restaurants, the service industries are getting hurt very, very hard, while others are not. And that's going to have long-term implications. As Brian said, the worst is over, but the recovery is going to have speed bumps. And once the impact of the stimulus packages that have been approved to date, which there's been 3 stimulus packages totaling $2 trillion. That's about 12-13% of the GDP, and it's about ready to double. So we're going to have about 25% of our GDP in stimulus. And once the effects of that wear off, the lingering problems along Pearl Street, if you will, in Boulder, are going to continue in those sectors and hurt for some time. So the commercial real estate sector is certainly going to hurt for a bit of time, particularly those that serve the hospitality arena. As far as the consumer, very uneven there as well. Strikingly, surprisingly, is the housing market. We went into this recession with a shortage of inventory, and housing prices remain strong, and selling activity is going quite well, which is unusual. And if you go back to the other 4 recessions I were in, that was not the case. What we are seeing, though, is households did clean up their personal balance sheets before going into this crisis, but those that are having devastating impacts it will show up in auto loans and unsecured loans to consumers. And so there is this unevenness that is occurring. In the long run. This economy will thrive and will do well, but it will take quite a bit of time before we get to that side of the environment.
Get you, Gerry. That just incredibly important perspective, both from the data that Brian presented, but then also the perspective that you have just working with these businesses. Well, let me just turn it back to Brian and ask, as we see ourselves trying to work our way out of this economic crisis, what advantages and disadvantages do you see for Boulder?
Yeah, I think Gerry actually touched on a few of them. The diverse economy that we have is certainly an advantage. We're a high-tech community. We have attracted the attention of a lot of national and even global tech firms that want to have a presence in Boulder to be alongside our own tech startups. So that's certainly one advantage. The federal labs and the university, at least, have historically been an economic stabilizer. I think the university is a unique disadvantage in this cycle that we haven't seen really in our history. And I'm an employee of the university, but we see that the university's finances are under a unique strain in this cycle. We're seeing an enrollment disruption, and even if we get all of our students back, even if our enrollment was flat or up, we have a number of students that are distance learning. So Boulder is used to having this huge influx of students who support our economy. They're renting houses in Boulder, they're going out to restaurants and bars, and they're shopping in Boulder. And without that physical presence of those students in Boulder, that's somewhat of a gap that we have in local spending. I think one other risk is tourism. We're not as leveraged in tourism as some of our mountain resort communities, but we have a slightly above average tourism for the metropolitan areas in Colorado. And so we have a number of hotels. We have a lot of restaurants that are supporting locals and non-locals. And without those tourists coming to Boulder, that's an impact that we'll see. Restaurants have had a very difficult time in this recession, and I think many of them were able to hang on because of the PPP. And as Gerry was saying, that stimulus is sort of being pulled away a little bit prematurely before the economy is on a strong enough footing to support itself. And so I think we're at risk of more of these small businesses folding because they don't have the support that they need and they don't have all of the customers back yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, so those are some concerning issues, but as you mentioned, there are some very positive features of our economy that suggest that we could see a good, strong bounce. But I'm going to ask Gerry, again, thinking about your perspective, working with these businesses, why are you and your credit union, Elevations, bullish on the capacity for our Boulder economy to respond to the COVID situation?
Really, two things, John. One is what Brian just spoke about in terms of the diversity of the economy. We have a very, very diverse economy, and it's different than many across the United States. And so it's special and unique in that way. But secondly, going into this recession, the strength of the businesses and the consumers, the balance sheets, if you will, of the consumer households and the businesses were very, very strong going into this recession. And so we're in a better place than we had been in previous recessions. So I truly believe those two factors will help Boulder do better than most in this environment.
Gotcha. Great, Gerry. Well, it's encouraging. So let's turn it to the Economic Summit. And I'm just so thankful that University of Colorado and Elevations Credit Union are supporting us in this reimagined version. But, listen, we are dealing with difficult times, and we have titled this ambitiously, Boulder's Position to Lead Through the Recovery. So I just have to ask you, why is it important, would you say, each of you, to support and be engaged in this economic summit? Gerry, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, thank you, John. When I think about Elevations and our culture, I would define it by 4 words, and we've done a lot of research internally on this. And those 4 words are learning, caring, purpose, and results. And when I think about the Economic Summit and the work that the Boulder Chamber is doing, it's a perfect match for us because we learn together about what's going on and how we can help each other and survive and thrive during this economic recession. So we learn a lot together. The work that we do, I think, is extraordinarily purposeful, and we care about the community, and ultimately through the collective work that we do together, we'll get the results. So I thank you for the leadership that you're bringing to the Chamber and to the business sector of our community and all the hard work that you're doing.
Oh, thanks,
We're delighted to support, we're thrilled to support the Chamber.
Oh, that means so much, and it's so important just for our ability to support our business community. Well, let me ask you, Brian, from the perspective of the University of Colorado.
Yeah, so I think I've been to every economic summit since the Chamber started doing this is this 11 or 12 years now?
Boy, I've lost track.
And I have to say that I learn something from the presenters every year that I go, and not only the presenters, but the other attendees who are in the room. It's just a fantastic audience and a really impressive group of speakers that you tend to have there. I think that it's important to attend just to be informed about what's going on in our local economy. And I think there's usually a call to action there. And I think that's especially important this year as we are recovering from this recession is talking about what all of us can be doing to help support the local recovery.
Yeah, amen. Well, I will just say individually, you guys are both important critical leaders for our community and to help us get through this challenging time. So thankful for your engagement in our community, but also really appreciative of your support of the Boulder Chamber's efforts in this economic recovery. So thank you both for being with us here today on Chamber Chat. And then I just get to say a final word to our Boulder Chamber members and the Boulder business community, and that is, at the Boulder Chamber, business is happening safely. What does that mean? That means that we are working hard to support your business and help you thrive during these difficult conditions. So make sure to reach out to us directly if you're facing any challenge that we can help you address, or if there's information and support services that we could deliver to you. Make sure to be in touch with us. We want to make sure that you're successful. But also, we all have a role in making sure that we get through this COVID-19 crisis. And part of that is making sure that we suppress that virus by all acting responsibly and following those public health orders. And one way you can all do that is by making sure you put on the mask when you're getting out, going around town, or headed into work. So listen, I always love to say thank you for being with us on Chamber Chat, and we'll see you next time.